Security! Get this kid out of here before he contaminates something. Dr. Harrison's shrill order sliced through the marble lobby of Chicago Memorial Hospital as he pointed at the 10-year-old who had just pushed through the front doors. Jerome Williams halted in the center of the polished floor, his worn sneakers a stark contrast to the gleam around him. He had trudged 12 blocks through freezing November rain to reach this place, and it wasn't the cold that made his hand tremble. It was the promise he had given himself. "Please, sir," Jerome said, his voice steady enough to make people glance up in surprise. "I just want to help the girl in the wheelchair. I know how to make her walk." Dr. Harrison, head of pediatric neurology, 45, heir to, a 4-generation medical dynasty, looked at the boy as if he were a smear on an otherwise immaculate lab coat. "Didn't you hear me? I called security. Street kids don't come in here and tell doctors how to do their jobs." Harrison's reputation was built on treating the children of Chicago's elite. He specialized in giving wealthy parents the answers they wanted to hear, even when hope had long since faded, especially when those parents included the hospital's biggest donors. Jerome ignored the approaching guards. "The girl has been in physical therapy for 3 years and has never taken a step," he continued calmly. "But I can help. My grandmother taught me." At that moment, Dr. Michael Foster appeared, pushing the wheelchair of his 7-year-old daughter, Emma. Born with cerebral palsy, Emma watched the encounter with curious, wide eyes. When she spotted Jerome, something impossible happened. She smiled and stretched both arms toward him. "Emma, no," Dr. Foster whispered, pulling the chair back. Emma pointed straight at Jerome. Then, in a voice clear and bright as a bell, she spoke her first unmistakable word in 2 years. "Friend." The silence that followed felt as loud as thunder. Harrison bristled with irritation. In 3 years of treatment, Emma had rarely shown interest in anything. Jerome knelt to meet her gaze. "Hi, Princess. Do you want to learn how to dance?" "Enough!" Harrison exploded. "Security! Remove this boy immediately!" He jabbed a finger at Jerome. "And you, if you show your face here again, I'll call the police." Jerome rose slowly as the guards moved in. Before they could lead him away, he leaned in and whispered words that made Harrison's blood run cold. "Doctor, I know exactly why Emma never got better, and I know you know too." Escorted toward the exit, Jerome kept his eyes locked on Harrison. There was something in that gaze far older than his 10 years, an unsettling steadiness, an ancient sort of resolve, and the calm confidence of someone carrying truths that could topple reputations if spoken at the wrong time. If you're enjoying this story of courage and determination, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to find out how a simple moment of humiliation would become the catalyst for a revolution that would forever change the lives of everyone in that hospital. In a quiet suburban neighborhood stood a grand house belonging to one of the most respected surgeons in the city. Dr. Harrison was a man whose hands had saved countless lives, yet there was one life he could never fully heal: his own daughter's. Emma, his little girl, had never walked a day in her life. Despite the best specialists, therapies, and cutting-edge treatments money could buy, her legs remained weak and unresponsive. The grand mansion echoed with wealth and prestige, but behind closed doors, it carried the heavy silence of disappointment, pain, and unspoken grief. Emma spent her days in a wheelchair, often watching other children play from her bedroom window. Though she had a bright smile and a gentle spirit, there was always a longing in her eyes. Her father adored her deeply, but he also carried guilt. Guilt that even with all his brilliance, he couldn't fix the one person he loved the most. The neighbors often whispered, some pitying the girl, others secretly criticizing the surgeon who could heal strangers but not his child. Within this atmosphere of judgment and quiet sorrow, Emma's life felt small and confined, her future uncertain. Yet fate had a way of writing stories where no one expected, and hers was about to change forever. One chilly afternoon, while Emma, sat in the garden bundled in a blanket, life delivered the most unexpected encounter. A young black boy, no older than 12, wandered past the iron gates of the mansion. His clothes were torn, his shoes nearly falling apart, and his eyes reflected both hardship and resilience. He was homeless, surviving on scraps and the kindness of strangers. Curious, Emma watched him from her wheelchair. Unlike others who passed, this boy did not look at her with pity or judgment. Instead, his gaze lingered with something different: understanding. Drawn by her quiet presence, he approached cautiously, unsure if he was welcome. The maid frowned at him, ready to send him away, but Emma softly insisted he stay. The boy introduced himself as Malik. His story was heartbreaking, abandoned by circumstances, wandering the streets, and carrying only the strength of his spirit. Despite his struggles, there was a spark in him, a belief that the impossible could sometimes become possible. He had seen suffering, but he had also seen resilience win. Over the next few days, Malik visited Emma often, sitting with her beneath the garden trees, telling her stories of hope, courage, and strength. Emma, who had grown used to people treating her as fragile, felt something new in Malik's presence: encouragement. One afternoon, as she sat quietly, Malik looked at her wheelchair and then at her legs. He did not see a girl bound forever by disability. He saw someone who had never been given the right kind of chance. Without arrogance or pity, he whispered, words that would change her life forever. "Let me help." At first, Emma's father was furious when he saw a homeless boy near his daughter, demanding Malik leave at once. But Emma pleaded with tears in her eyes, insisting Malik had given her something no one else had ever given: hope. Reluctantly, Dr. Harrison allowed him to stay, unaware that this moment would mark the beginning of a miracle neither science nor wealth had ever achieved. One quiet evening, Malik asked Emma to trust him. She hesitated, her hands trembling on the arms of her wheelchair, but the steady calm in his voice gave her courage. He gently guided her to try something no one else dared to ask of her: standing. At first, her legs wobbled, weak from years of disuse, and her father rushed forward to stop it, terrified she might fall. But Malik remained steady beside her, holding her hand, urging her to believe in herself, not in her limitations. The room grew silent, every breath held as Emma's small feet touched the ground. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of her own body pressing down on her legs. She quivered, nearly collapsing, but Malik steadied her. Tears streamed down her face, not from pain, but from a feeling she had never known: possibility. Inch by inch, she straightened her posture, her fragile frame trembling until she was upright. Her father, the surgeon who had declared her condition hopeless, froze in disbelief. The maids gasped, covering their mouths as tears welled in their eyes. The impossible was unfolding before them. And then, step by trembling step, Emma moved forward. Each shuffle of her feet echoed like thunder in that quiet room. The girl who had never walked was defying every expectation, every limitation, every belief about what she could not do. Malik did not let go, his grip firm, his words steady. He was not a doctor, not a scientist, not someone with wealth or power. Yet he had given Emma what no one else could: faith in herself. And with that faith, she took her very first steps into a new life. When Emma finally collapsed back into her chair, her face glowed with joy, her cheeks wet with tears. She had reality. Her father's pride shifted into something greater than relief. It was respect. For the first time, he looked at Malik not as a poor black boy from the streets, but as someone extraordinary. He offered Malik more than food or shelter. He gave him a place in their family, recognizing his strength, resilience, and the heart that had healed what medicine never could. Emma's life transformed from that day forward. With Malik's encouragement, she grew stronger, her steps more certain, her spirit more fearless. Every step she took was a reminder that the impossible could be overcome, that prejudice could be shattered, and that sometimes the least expected people carried the greatest power to change lives. And for those who doubted, one question remained, lingering long after the story spread. If a boy with nothing could give a girl everything she had ever dreamed of, then what excuse do the rest of us have for withholding kindness, hope, or belief in one another?